It's time for Northwestern Outdoors Radio, the award-winning show that covers fishing, hunting, and all sorts of outdoor recreation here in the Great Northwest. Northwestern Outdoors is brought to you every week by Max Lure Company, a legacy of innovation since 1969, by Loophole Optics, America's optical authority, by Camp Chef, the way to cook outdoors,
by Wallowa County.
Nature is on display in Northeast Oregon, and by The Real News, your fishing resource. Also by Shiloh Inns and Suites, providing you with affordable excellence. And by Mardon Resort, the place for fishing, hunting, and more in Eastern Washington. And now, it's time to head outside with your host, John Cruz.
It's the heart of winter, but it's still a good time to go play outside. If you're a fisherman or fisherwoman, you might want to be going after walleye this time of year because they're really big. Steelhead fishing is going strong throughout the Northwest. Perch fishing is happening under the ice. And if you're places like Cascade Lake in Idaho, you might catch some trout as well. If you're a hunter, there are still ducks and geese to go after through the end of the month. And if you don't hunt, there's snowshoeing, there's cross-country skiing, and opportunities to watch wildlife. Or how about this? How about driving a sled, being pulled by a team of huskies over the snow? Nicole Lewis, who's an outdoors writer, photographer, and sled dog tour guide with Snowy Owl Tours in Alberta, is going to tell you about doing just that. You can either go for a ride in the sled, or you can drive your own team. Sounds like a ton of fun. If you're not up for, being a musher, you can at least watch an actual sled dog race. There's one going on in Northeast Oregon this coming week. It's called the Eagle Cap Extreme. Troy Nave is going to tell you not only about the race, but about all the other fun you can have if you go to Enterprise or Joseph to see it. In addition to dog sledding, we're going to be previewing the big Washington Sportsman Show. It's kicking off this Wednesday, and it's running through Sunday the 25th, and Joe Brennan with O'Loughlin Trade Shows is going to tell you all about it. While you're there at the Washington Sportsman Show, be sure to stop by the Real News booth and visit with Terry Sheely and editor-publisher Jim Gorg about not just their great publication, but about the very affordable spring fishing trips they have available on the Sea of Cortez. Terry Sheely is going to be joining us to tell you about the Baja Amigos and Baja Heroes fishing adventures, and they sound like fun. In addition to this, we're going to be telling you about a great lure to use for ice fishing on this week's Max Minute. We'll also let you know about some poachers who got caught in Montana, hooray, and give you the latest field reports from Eastern Washington and Northern Idaho about waterfowl hunting. Throw in some news and upcoming events you'll want to know about in Pocatello, and we've got a busy, snowy show coming your way. But before we get any further into it, David Sparks is going to tell you about a great place to hunt big game in Colorado, and also find out what kind of bow a well-known outfitter there prefers to use. It's all part of this week's edition of Sportsman Spotlight.
Flat Tops Wilderness, one of the most beautiful hunting spots in our beautiful state of Colorado. David Sparks with Sportsman Spotlight. Eddie Sanchez is a longtime guide for Winterhawk Outfitters, way up in the mountains of Colorado. The base camp is at 9,300 feet, and most of the hunts are for elk, mule deer, and mountain lions. When Eddie Sanchez guides his clients, they hop aboard either a mountain horse or mule and head for 10 to 11,000 feet for monster elk and mule deer. Eddie himself, obviously, is a hunter and recently harvested an epic mule deer. He does a great deal of archery hunting, and I asked him what his favorite bow was.
I use Matthews. I've used other brands, but I always seem to go back to Matthews. I just like them. I feel it's got good weight. I feel it's got everything I need in a bow. The size of the bow, the speed of the bow, the durability of the bow, and that is something that here in the mountains, you really put your equipment to test. Sometimes we do 15, 16, even 18 miles in a day, and you're traversing hills, you slip, you fall, you bang your equipment, and my experience with my Matthews that I've had, which I've had 2 or 3 of them over the past 12 years, has always been that they can hack it and that they can deal with what I put them through.
A ringing endorsement from an excellent hunter who goes south to Florida during the late winter to scuba dive and spearfish.
We help those who produce the food and fiber that supports not only our area here, but throughout the nation, throughout the world.
Lance Zollinger, Northwest Farm Credit Services Regional Vice President.
But we also are very interested in making sure that these products and services get to those who need them. Unfortunately, we have various areas, even in some of the top producing agricultural areas, people still are in situations where they don't have enough to feed their families.
Northwest Farm Credit Services employees contribute in a variety of ways.
We've directly focused an effort on donating not only dollars to the food bank to help them with distribution of that food. We've helped fund trucks that have been purchased and ways to make sure that those products that they have in the food bank can get out to those who need them. But we also spend a lot of time as a group serving in the food bank.
Northwest Farm Credit Services. Customer owned, customer driven.
This is David Sparks for Sportsman Spotlight.
Looking for the ultimate cooking machine for your backyard or patio? Look no further than Camp Chef's new pellet grill and smoker. With user-friendly features like an auto ignition, digital readouts, and internal meat temperature sensors, it's easy to smoke the tastiest salmon, ribs, brisket, and turkey you'll ever eat. And an innovative system makes cleanup a snap. Everyone will want the food you're cooking on your Camp Chef pellet grill and smoker, the quality smoker that's second to none. Find out more at campchef.com. Camp Chef, the way to cook outdoors.
Pheasants Forever is working hard every day to ensure there's more wildlife habitat for the future. To join us, go to pheasantsforever.org.
You're back to Northwestern Outdoors Radio. I'm John Cruz. It's Sportsman Show season, and a really big one is coming up this week at the Puyallup Fairgrounds. It's the Washington Sportsman Show. It's taking place January 21st through the 25th. With us here to tell us more about it is Joe Brennan with O'Loughlin Trade Shows. Joe, welcome back to the show.
Yeah, good afternoon, John. How are you today?
Doing fantastic. This is a really big show. It seems to attract just about everybody in Western Washington and quite a few folks east of the Cascades as well. Tell our listeners what they're going to find there this year.
Well, once again, John and the listeners, this is our 28th year there at the Washington State Fair and Event Center. This show has been built over the years on success of bringing, once again, the hunting and fishing guides and outfitters, manufacturers, and the resources associated with the hunting and fishing industries. Also, we do a great job with the boats and RVs because you need those to go hunt and fish with. And, you know, we've had such a success there. We're continuing on doing pretty much what we do there year after year.
Well, I'll tell you what, folks, it is hundreds and hundreds of exhibitors you're going to find there. And you've got some good seminars and demonstrations as well. And one of them that interests me, you've got Peter Kummerfeld here. He's a really big name when it comes to wilderness survival, isn't he?
Well, yes, he is. Peter was in the U.S. Navy, had a life-threatening situation, and after that he devoted the last 50 years of teaching people outdoor survival, and this is going to be his final year with us. So he is bringing in his topic, what I've learned while teaching survival for 50 years.
Well, one thing I know about wilderness survival is you're always going to be hungry, and that's a good thing when it comes to this show because you've got a fantastic cook named Tiffany Hagen who's going to be doing some outdoor cooking demonstrations.
Oh, yeah, she's back in our lineup this year doing some smoking and actually some butchering seminars, and we've actually added a new gentleman by the name of Roger Neufeld, and Roger is going to be demonstrating beginning and advanced sausage making that you can use for your big game.
Oh, that sounds fantastic. That's something I'd like to sit on myself. So you always have lots of good seminars in terms of anglers and on the fly fishing side as well. Any names that are going to be pretty exciting for anglers this year in Western Washington?
Well, there's a new gentleman. You mentioned the fly fishing theater, and there's a David Paul Williams. He is a bass fisherman. He's written a new book on fishing bass in Washington, and I'm bringing him in, so I think that'd be a name to come out and look for.
Turning our attention to the hunting side of things, I know you have a head and horns competition every year, and I understand you get like 200 heads, horns, or antler sheds that end up here, and these are all brought there by folks attending the show, aren't they?
Absolutely. It's open to anybody, and we do get, John, several number of heads. It can range from anywhere to 150 to 250 a year, and anyone is welcome to bring any time, going back many, many years, their antlers have not been scored. Bring them down to the competition, see how they rank among the records.
Last but not least, I know you always have lots of fun stuff for the kids, and your shows offer an absolutely free trout pond. You don't have to pay for the privilege to catch that fish, do you?
No, you do not. This is the hallmark feature of a Laughlin trade shows. It's our free kids trout pond. They can come down and fish for a trout and bring it home. And that's the experience we want. We want these kids to catch a fish and have the opportunity to bring it home with a big smile on their face. And then we also offer an archery area for kids so they can learn how to shoot a bow and arrow.
Well, there you go, folks. So bring the kids and bring yourself down to the Washington Sportsman Show because, again, hundreds of outfitters and guides, so you can go ahead and learn about booking your next big adventure. You can also take advantage of some of the great deals that retailers are going to have there. And like we just talked about, other stuff going on too in terms of learning about wilderness survival, camp cooking, fishing, hunting, and more. The dates again, January 21st through the 25th. And if you go to thesportshows.com, you can actually download a $2 discount coupon. That's thesportshows.com. You'll find out more about the show and get yourself a coupon too. Again, it is taking place at the Puyallup Fairgrounds. Really big show. It's the Washington Sportsman Show. Don't miss it. Joe, thanks for taking the time to tell us all about it on Northwestern Outdoors Radio.
Oh, you're welcome. It's a great outdoors coming indoors. See everybody there.
Next on Northwestern Outdoors Radio, if you find yourself at the Washington Sportsman Show in Puyallup, you better make it a point to stop by the Real News booth. When you get there, you're going to find Jim Gorg, Casey editor and publisher, and you're going to find Terry Sheely. And not only are they going to tell you about their great publication, but they're going to tell you about a special trip they've got available for you. It's called the Baja Amigos. Terry's here to tell us more about it. Terry, welcome back to the show. Always great to talk to you.
Thank you, John. It's always great to talk about sun, sandals, and sand.
Well, and that's what I want you to describe. You know, we've talked about this before over the years, but we always have new listeners. I think we probably just kind of need to tell some of these new ones in particular, what is this Baja Amigos trip all about?
Actually, it's about affordable fishing. A lot of people want to fish Mexico, see the Sea of Cortez, enjoy literally hundreds of game fish down there. It's always been out of the price range for a lot of people.
Right.
Well, a few years ago, about 10 now, Jim Gorg, myself, and a guy named Jim Tuggle went to Mexico, stayed at this place, came back and said, this is just ludicrous that you can come down here for less than it costs you to go to Montana, fish like this in May when you need a good sun break, and it's affordable. And so we put together these two trips.
So the Baja Amigos trip and the Baja Heroes trip, which is set aside specifically for law enforcement, first responders, firefighters, EMT crews, and military, but anyone can go, by the way.
Anyone can go. We emphasize the Heroes trip aspect of it because it's, well, sort of a reward for their dedication to all this. But any friends, family, or anybody that wants to sign up for the second trip, it piggybacks. The first trip is the Monday after, right after Mother's Day, May 11th, and it ends May 16th, and then we pick up May 16th to May 21st for the Heroes trip.
Now, this is on the Baja Peninsula. It's on the Sea of Cortez near a village called, what is it, Los Barriles or Los Barrias?
Los Barriles.
Los Barriles. And what's the resort you stay at there? Because I've heard great things about it.
It's part of the Van Wormers Resorts chain, and it's called the Hotel Palmas de Cortez. It's a beachfront, multi-story, first-class hotel. It overlooks the bay. It overlooks the boats. You step out of your room. There's a sand beach. You walk from right across it. Hop on your boat, your panga, your cruiser, or beach fish if that's your like. It's all real first class. It's not expensive. It's not when I say first class, I don't mean 5-star.
Sure.
But I do mean it's very comfortable, very nice.
Are meals included?
Well, yeah, 3 meals a day, 4 days of fishing. Everything except gratuities, and you have to buy bait is included in the trip.
Okay, so let's talk about the fishing, Terry. What kind of fish are you catching in May out there?
Every year, that's one of the intriguing parts. We have something new is the hot fish. The first year I was there, it was roosterfish and Jack Crevalle. Last year, it was marlin. Oh. Marlin right in off the shore. There were guys caught 4 marlin in a day.
Wow.
So it's wahoo and dorado, a lot of dorado, and it depends on the water temperature and how much bait and what kind of bait's in the water. But it's a real variety. It can go from yellowfin tuna to marlin, sailfish, wahoo, dorado. I'll tell you, John, last year we had dorado, schools of dorado. were coming in and right underneath the mooring buoys.
Oh, my gosh.
Where the cruisers tie up just off the beach. If you could cast a little bit further, you could have got them from there. But guys were taking little kayaks out and catching Dorado right in where the boats are moored.
Oh,
it was amazing.
It doesn't get any better than that. Believe it or not, we're already starting to run out of time. I got to ask, what is the approximate cost of this trip? I know it's going to vary a little bit, but what's the give or take ballpark for 4 days of fishing and 5 nights here in sunny Mexico?
You can do it for as little as $9.60 a person.
Amazing. Is that's
top
plus
end is
airfare, right?
Plus airfare, exactly.
Okay.
The thing about this fishery is, John, you can structure. You can go out in a cruiser 2 days and a panga 1 day, or take a day off and go shopping in a little town there. And it's a great little town. It's not a resort town at all. It's just a real authentic Mexican fishing community.
Well, there you go, folks. It's the Baja Amigos and Baja Heroes trip taking place this spring with the crew from The Real News. You can find out more by visiting their booth at the Washington Sportsman Show in Puyallup. That's a great show, by the way, as we've talked about already. And this will be a great trip to book during that show. You can also go to their website, therealnews.com. That's the real, REEL news.com, and there's a link there as well. Terry, can't wait to see you at the Puyallup show, and can't wait to hear more about these great fishing trips.
My pleasure, Jim.
I'm Ward Burton. Think that's fast? That's nothing compared to how fast America is losing its wildlife habitat. Join the Rocky Mount Elk Foundation and help us protect millions of acres. Visit elkfoundation.org or call 1-800-CALL-ELK.
We're back with John Cruz on Northwestern Outdoors Radio.
It's time for another Max Minute.
Fish on!
From Max Lure Company, with us here again is Lance Mers. Lance, the lakes are freezing up. People are thinking ice fishing, and I understand Max has got a lure that most people haven't tried before that ought to work really good this year.
That's right, John. It's called the Max Lure Sonic Bait Fish. It comes in 6 different colors that are glow and high UV colors, and depending upon the size, it comes with a single Siwash, double, or treble hook. And this thing is so versatile that it can be cast, swam, jigged, or trolled. It's perfect for ice fishing.
I can actually see using this lure as I hold it in my hand, like as a blade bait almost, if you tie it from the center pull point, or if you go ahead and tie it from the nose or from the tail, you can go ahead and use it as a vertical jigging spoon. All effective methods to go ahead and get what are often lethargic fish through the ice.
That's right, John. And if you want to, this jigging spoon is versatile, so tie it to the nose, attach a Max Lure glow hook, and you're ready to fish.
That's the Sonic Bait Fish from Max Lure Company. Go ahead and find out about that and other lures, like the world-famous wedding ring spinner and patented smile blade at maxlure.com. It's Sportsman Show season, and 2 great ones are coming your way in Washington this year, courtesy of Schuler Productions. The Tri-City Sportsman Show kicks off the season at the track in Pasco from January 16th through the 18th, and the always popular Central Washington Sportsman Show returns to the Yakima Sun Dome February 20th through the 22nd. Both shows are going to have lots of guides, outfitters, and other exhibitors, to include sporting goods dealers that are going to offer some great deals. There's also fun for the kids who can catch fish and more. Throw-in seminars on fishing, hunting, and camp cooking, along with archery and air rifle ranges at the track for the kids, and a horn and antler competition at the Sun Dome, and you won't want to miss either show. It's the Tri-City Show, January 16th through the 18th, and the Central Washington Show, February 20th through the 22nd. We'll see you there.
Leupold has been building optics in Oregon since 1907, and Leupold binoculars bring excellent optical performance and modern styling to the serious outdoorsman. Whether you're a boater, birder, backpacker, or hunter, Leupold's state-of-the-art binocular lines are sure to fit your needs. Visit Leupold.com or your local Cabela's, Bi-Mart, or Sportsman's Warehouse to see the full line of Leupold optics.
Fishing fun and adventure is waiting for you in sunny Baja, Mexico this spring. You got your choice of attending the Baja Amigos trip or the Baja Heroes trip. The trips are offered by The Real News, and you will be spending 6 nights and 5 days on the East Cape of Baja, Mexico, staying at the luxurious Hotel Palmas de Cortez. You'll have 3 meals a day. You'll have wonderful amenities and 4 days of fishing for marlin, sailfish, dorado, roosterfish, and more. Find out more about the Baja Amigos and Baja Heroes trips, both offered for as low as $1,100 per person by calling The Real News at 425-334-8966. 425-334-8966. That's 425-334-8966 for Baja Amigos and fishing fun in Mexico. Welcome back to Northwestern Outdoors Radio. Up next, we're talking sled dogs, and we're talking sled dog tours. We're going to talk about it with Nicole Lewis. She's a young, tough, and sassy woman who hails from Canmore, Alberta. She's an outdoors writer, a talented photographer, and even a board member for the Northwest Outdoor Writers Association. She's also a sled dog tour guide with Snowy Owl Tours in Alberta. Nicole, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, John.
Nicole, it's just great to talk to you again. It's always a pleasure. And let's start off by having you tell our listeners a little bit about the company you work for, Snowy Owl Sled Dog Tours. Where are you located, and what kind of tours do you offer?
We're located out of Canmore, Alberta, in the heart of the Rockies. We have our office downtown Canmore, but we actually run our tours out of Spray Lakes Provincial Park, which is approximately 5,600 feet in elevation, and we offer anything from 2 hours tours to 2 days.
Oh my gosh. So you actually have overnight tours that you offer too? Tell me more about that.
Yep. So we cover approximately 80 kilometers.
Okay, so about
overall,
50 miles. Okay.
And we incorporate our 4-hour sun feather tour in the first half of the first day. And then we come back to site where we water the dogs, take a little break, and then we head out to our overnight camp.
So when you're talking an overnight camp, are we talking tents? Are we talking igloos and snow forts? Or what are we talking about the overnight camp here?
We provide everything, and it's all set up for us once we get there. We have North Face tents, sleeping gear. We do have a teepee, which we use as a cooking tent.
Nice.
But it's actually very comfortable, and no matter what temperature, you're still going to have a good time.
I'm guessing there's a fire burning at camp too, isn't there?
Yes, there is, where we actually cook dinner. We have steak, we have wine. It's a really nice experience and very unique.
Oh, it sounds absolutely wonderful. So that's the overnight tour. What happens on your day or half day or 2-hour tours?
So our 2-hour tour is definitely the most popular. You can either start being picked up in the office, and we offer pickups out of Banff right at your hotel door.
Nice.
You drive 20 minutes approximately up to site, where you're greeted by us, can pet the dogs, take some pictures, and then we go right into instruction, kind of give you an introduction to dog sledding, about driving the sleds. Then we hit the trail. You do about an hour of actual dog sledding, and then we come back to site. We have a campfire set up where we have cider and some brownies. Then you're able to purchase your photographs from the tour, and then you head back down to the office.
So describe the sleds to me. Now I understand you can have 8, 10, 12 dogs pulling each sled. How many dogs are pulling the sleds?
We're the only company that in this area that lets you drive your own dog team.
Oh, I missed that completely. So I thought you were the person that drove the dog team. You're letting the clients do it?
Yep. So you'll have a guide in front of you.
Okay.
Which the guided sleds can be 7 to 8 dogs, just so we can set the pace, maybe do some training on a younger dog.
Sure.
And then the get-driven sleds are 6 dogs.
Oh, this is fantastic. Okay. And again, you don't need any experience to do this. You basically teach the person right there before the 2-hour tour how to do this?
Yep. We have a 20, 25-minute instruction. We go over all the basics, stopping, going around corners, uphills, downhills. Most important rule being never letting go.
That's a good rule.
Second being how to stop your sled. A little bit of trail etiquette. It's a lot like driving a car, but everybody from 5 to 95 can drive their own team.
This is amazing. I'll tell you what, Nicole, when we first started talking, I imagined I was going to be sitting in the sled and you were going to be doing all the work. I didn't know that I got to be the guy that's the musher too.
Yeah, we offer guided sleds for people that, have medical injuries or aren't confident enough, or there's some reason they can't be on their own. But they're still able to drive with the guide, so they still get the experience of driving the sled if they're up for it. And then the 2 sleds behind me are just solely driven by guests who most of the time have never dog sledded.
Oh, this is fantastic. Folks, you're listening to Northwestern Outdoors Radio. We're talking to Nicole Lewis. She's with Snowy Owl Sled Dog Tours in Alberta, Canada, and she's talking about the opportunity you have, that's right, you, to drive a sled dog team in your very own sled. Let me clarify something else. These overnight tours, are the guests driving the sleds on these as well?
Very often, yes, but you're assigned 2 guides for an overnight. So if the people are comfortable enough, they'll drive their own sleds. The guides will drive the sled in front of them. Or if they're not comfortable, then you can have a guide on each one.
Again, this sounds just great. Something I want to talk to you about, though, is, we were talking about this a couple months ago when we decided to go ahead and have this conversation. And you told me that you get in incredible shape during the season, because this is really physical, isn't it? It doesn't feel like it, but at the end of the day, you're pretty tired and you're getting really beefed up with your muscles, aren't you?
I think the biggest misconception is that it's just a ride. Showing up, you're sitting in the sled and you're going on a nice tour, but the way that we have it set up, we want everyone to interact and we want everyone to have a chance to try driving their own team. And nobody thinks about the physical aspects of it, because pulling all that weight up the hills is quite hard. And if you don't help your dogs, there's a good chance they just stop, turn around, and look at you. So we recommend that you actually run up the uphills for them if you can. If not, you pedal like a skateboard.
Right.
And that just gets some of your weight off the sled and gives them a bit of help up the hills. And they work a lot harder for you in the end because of it. But it is exhausting, and that's not to deter anyone, but it's, number one, the best way to stay warm out there. Keep moving at the back, and it's a great way to get respect from your dog. But I think the other reason why it's such a physically demanding job is all the behind-the-scenes work. I mean, on our busiest day, we'll take 160 people out, which only ends up being 4 hours of dog sledding, but there's 10 hours of preparation and setup in behind the scenes that goes into that.
And I think that's probably the secret. So, folks, we're not trying to scare you away from the sled dogging experience because, again, you're going to get a little bit of a workout, you're going to get some exercise, but it's not overwhelming. But if you're somebody like Nicole, who does it every day for like 10 hours to 14 hours a day, you're going to look like her, which is kind of like Laura Hamilton in that Terminator movie with the really buff arms. That's Nicole. So, Nicole, last but not least, the dogs. Tell me about the dogs that you have that takes folks on these tours.
So we actually use 6 different breeds of husky at our company. Inuit and Malamute Inuit's the original sled dogs, what they used for transportation up north before the snowmobile was introduced. Malamute's just a smaller version of that, but those dogs can pull 300 to 500 pounds on their own.
Wow.
And then we get into our Siberian Huskies, which is basically any sled dog movie you've seen on TV. That's pretty much what they use. It's the pretty husky.
Right.
Unfortunately, they've been bred for their looks more so than their work ethic nowadays, so they take a bit more love to get going, but still, our dogs can be quite hardworking. We have a special Siberian we use called the Zeppela Siberian. Have you ever seen the movie Balto?
No, I have not. I'm going to now, though, just to see what this dog looks like.
Well, Leonard Zeppela saved the town of Nome by dog sledding to Anchorage to get the vaccine for diphtheria.
Okay.
They preserved his bloodline of sled dogs, which were all sides, and now they call them the Zeppela sides. And so some of our dogs in our kennel are really direct descendants of Balto.
Oh, my gosh. Nicole, this is fascinating stuff, but unfortunately, we are out of time. So, folks, if you want to find out more about this incredible Canadian adventure taking place near Canmore, Alberta, go to their website. It's snowyowltours.com, snowyowltours.com. They've also got a phone number. It's 403-678-4369. That's 403-678-4369. Or just go to the website again. You'll find it there, too. It's snowyowltours.com. And speaking of websites, Nicole, I understand you've got a website, too, that highlights your writing and your photography and more. Why don't you give our folks that website?
So that'd be NicoleLewisWriting.com.
That's Nicole, Nicole LewisWriting.com. That's NicoleLewisWriting.com. She's really a rising star in the outdoors industry, not only when it comes to sled dog driving, but also in writing photography. Very talented young lady. So again, 2 websites for you folks. There's NicoleLewisWriting.com, or if you want to book that trip in the Canadian Rockies for an adventure you'll never forget, it's SnowyOwlTours.com. That's SnowyOwlTours.com. Nicole, looking forward to seeing you soon. And one of these days, we've got to go on one of these sled dog trips.
That would be a lot of fun, John.
Pheasants Forever is working hard every day to ensure there's more wildlife habitat for the future. Join the habitat leader and help create wildlife habitat in your community. Go to pheasantsforever.org.
Welcome back to Northwestern Outdoors Radio. It's time again for news and reports from the field, brought to you every week by Mardon Resort at Eastern Washington's Potholes Reservoir. Kent Contreras, an Avery Pro staffer, reports hunting, well, it's been pretty lousy along the northern border of Idaho and Washington, but in the Columbia Basin, the folks at Mardon Resort report goose hunting has been very good in fields near Othello, Warden, and Royal City. You need to scout where the geese are going to go the night before and then get permission to hunt out of layout blinds the next day for your best chance of success. This can be tough to do. I mean, it's a time commitment and there's no assurance you're going to get on that land. So make it easy on yourself and just book a guided goose hunting trip with Meesburg Guided Adventures out of Mardon Resort. You can find out more by going to theducktaxi.com. That's ducktaxi.com. You can also go to the Mardon Resort website at mardonresort.com. That's mardonresort.com, where the fish bite, but we don't. Fish and wildlife enforcement officers throughout the Northwest have been busy working big game poaching cases, and one case in Montana recently was brought to a successful conclusion when 2 Jefferson County poachers were fined over $9,000 and lost their fishing and hunting licenses for 2 years after being sentenced in Teton County for killing 2 bull elk on a private ranch on the Rocky Mountain front. Mark Niemeyer of Basin and Matthew Bergen of Boulder both received hefty fines for trespassing and illegally taking 2 elk on the Diamond 4D Ranch last October. Bergen's elk was a 6x6 and Niemeyer's was a 6x4 bull. The 2 were caught after a ranch employee found the kill site and contacted Montana Fish, Wildlife, and Parks enforcement officers. The officers located the 2 suspects in a camp near the ranch and made their case. The poachers won't even get the antlers as a souvenir. They're going to be auctioned off at the FWP statewide trophy auction, and the meat from the animals was donated to the Helena Food Bank. In other news, if you haven't picked up a calendar for the new year, we can help. Idaho Fish and Game has free poster-style sportsman's calendars available at their Pocatello office. While supplies last, you can pick up 1 or 2, put it on your wall, and enjoy some nice photos from this beautiful part of the Northwest while you count the days until your next trip afield. Next on Northwestern Outdoors Radio, we talked about going on sled dog tours earlier in the show, where you go ahead and basically do some dog sledding up in Canada. But if you want to actually see the sport before you try it, we've got just the thing for you. It's the Eagle Cap Extreme. It's taking place January 21st through the 24th in Wallowa County in Northeast Oregon. Joseph, Oregon is ground zero for this event. And with us here to tell us more about it, Troy Nave, the race organizer for the Eagle Cap Extreme. Troy, great to have you on the show again.
Great. Thanks, John. It's great to be here.
For our listeners who are not familiar with the Eagle Cap Extreme, describe it for them.
Sure. The Eagle Cap Extreme consists of 4 different events, and our flagship event is the 200-mile race that serves as a qualifying event for both the Iditarod and the Yukon Quest, held up in Alaska and in the Yukon territories. Those are the 2 biggest, most famous mushing events in the sport of mushing. And the Eagle Cap Extreme 200-miler is one of only 3 qualifying events for those races in the lower 48 states. The other 2 are in Maine. So we've got a unique event going on for the region and for, well, this whole part of the country. The other 3 events, there's a 100-mile event, there's a 62-mile 2-stage event, and this year we have a new juniors race. First time we'll be doing this in our 11-year history.
Oh, that sounds fantastic. And, you know, I'm guessing this being a qualifier for the Iditarod and the Yukon Quest, you're probably getting some really high-quality mushers and teams here for this, aren't you?
We sure are. In fact, the last 3 years have been won by Iditarod veterans. folks that have run that race a few times before. Our defending champion, Laura Dozero, in fact, two-time defending champion. She's training for the Iditarod this year, so won't be able to make our race. But some other folks that'll be here, Karen Ramstead, she is from Perryville, Alberta, Canada. She has run the Iditarod 11 times. A guy, Mark Stam, is very competitive. He's run the Iditarod. And we've got Josie Tier from Cataldo, Idaho, who is using this race as a qualifying event so she can run the Iditarod in the future. So, yeah, we have a really good competition. This is all 200-mile racers that I've mentioned here, and it's going to be a really stacked field. If I were a betting guy, I wouldn't even know who to tell you to put your money on for this one. It's a really competitive field with some Eagle Cap Extreme veterans and several Iditarod veterans as well.
Oh, and that's the best sort of event where you just don't know who's going to win, but it's going to be a great competition. How fast do you have to go to win this? I mean, how fast do you have to go ahead and mush those dogs for 200 miles to have a shot at winning?
Well, it's a good question. Last year we had a thin snowpack, but a fast snow is hard and compact, and so all three course records fell. And that means in a 200-mile race, people were getting finished in a total of 38 hours, which include a 6-hour mandatory layover for the dogs to rest, get fed, and checked out by our expert veterinary staff. So when you average that out, most of the times you're going about 6, 7, 8 miles an hour on an average course in these mid-distance races. These mid- and long-distance races, dogs go about 6, 7, 8 miles an hour. Sprint races, they go a little bit faster because they don't have to conserve energy. And through the course of these races, so you do the math, they'll be doing 100 miles a day plus on average, and they're going to be burning about 10,000 calories each. These are 55-pound sled dogs burning 10,000 calories each day. So it's a pretty phenomenal amount of athleticism we see in these dogs and these working dogs.
Oh, this sounds just amazing. So for folks who want to come out and watch and participate, as active spectators, I guess the first thing I got to ask, how's the snow this year, and are the roads passable to get there to Joseph?
The snow, we've had some warm temperatures, so the snow's been melting off a teeny bit. We still have plenty of snow there. In fact, there's still snow in town, in Joseph and in Enterprise. The towns in Wallowa County, it's holding up real well in the mountains. And the good part about the warming temperatures is all of that cold temperature we had for the end of the year. That's this warmer temperatures allowing that snow to compact, to firm up a little bit, to provide a really good base for mushing. And we have the advantage of being one of the highest elevation races in the lower 48 states. Almost the entire course is over a mile high. So while some other races are having to cancel because of warm weather or what have you, this race, knocking on wood, has been able to hold its own and keep enough snow to run as the years go.
So, Troy, if I want to come visit and I really want to get into this, tell me 2 or 3 ways that I can really enjoy this event.
Sure. Now, there's one of the most enjoyable things, especially for families, and that's something we concentrate on a lot at Eagle Cap Extreme, is to try to get families out here because, frankly, it's the kids that go the most bonkers over this event. And before the mushers ever get their dogs in their harnesses and attached to the sled and the gang lines, that happens on Thursday. But before that ever happens, we do a veterinary check on the dogs prior to the race. That happens on Wednesday. So what we do is we close Main Street Joseph from 9 to 12. Half the teams go out there, and all the kids and the school kids, the families, the business owners can come out and look at the dogs and meet the mushers, meet the dogs and all that. We do it again from 1 to 3 in Enterprise for the other half of the mushers. So it's a great time, for people to come out and just say, hey, what are you about? What are you doing here? And all that, because it's a real novelty for Northeast Oregon. We don't have a strong mushing history like some folks do, like a lot of people do in Alaska, where it's the state sport. But really, really curious, where they can meet these really charismatic animals and charismatic mushers, and that's a really good time to interact with them. So that's on Wednesday. We have a potluck that night that you can meet the mushers at. And then, of course, you can't miss the race start the next day on Thursday. That is just a cacophony of amazing noise. As soon as one dog gets in harness, the other 150 there in the parking lot start howling too, and it doesn't stop till the last dog's on the course. So it's a lot of fun, and the kids go bonkers. It's like a carnival atmosphere there at the big Ferguson Ski Hill and outside of Joseph.
Oh, this sounds like an absolute hoot. We are out of time, but if people want to check out our website to find out more about the Eagle Cap Extreme and make plans to come to Joseph in the week ahead to go ahead and experience of all this, where do they go?
Sure, they go to www.eaglecapextreme.com. Our whole schedule of events is there. Everything but the Mushers Banquet on Saturday night is free to the public. It's a wonderful time, and there's a lot to do outside of this race in Joseph and Enterprise anyway. So I certainly encourage folks to come out, spend a few days with us, and have the time of your lives out here.
It's the Eagle Cap Extreme. Find out more at eaglecapextreme.com. It's in Wallowa County, and man, this sounds like a whole bunch of fun. Troy, thanks for telling us all about it. Good luck with the race.
Thanks a lot, John. You bet. We're excited to have it.
Wake up to winter in Wallowa County. Grab your camera and don your skis for some Nordic skiing adventure at Salt Creek Summit or Wallowa Lake. Or spend the day on the family-friendly slopes of Fergie Ridge. Or slip into a set of skates and enjoy some time on the ice at our outdoor ice rink. Need to warm up? Then grab a cup of coffee or hot chocolate at one of our fine coffee and confectionery shops. And when evening comes, enjoy some of Wallowa County's fine dining and gaze at the stars before you dream of tomorrow's adventures. Your winter adventure begins at www.wallawacountychamber.com.
I'd like to tell you I just brought down that buck, but I didn't. I missed. And you know why I missed? Because of the scope I've got on my rifle. You see, my friends told me to get a Leupold rifle scope. Why? Well, because Leupold is America's optical authority. They make a huge variety of quality scopes for every need, and they make them right here in the Northwest. Unfortunately, I didn't listen. I used the cheap scope that came with this rifle when I bought it. And when it came time to pull the trigger, well, let's just say things were a little blurry. Now, I've got nothing to look forward to except a long, empty-handed walk back home. Next time I come out into the field, there's going to be a Leupold scope on my rifle. And next time, I'm not going to miss.
Leupold rifle scopes. Check out the whole line at leupold.com and look for them at a sporting goods store near you.
It's time for the big ones. That's right. The two biggest shows in the Pacific Northwest are coming up soon. The Washington Sportsman Show is first, taking place at the Puyallup Fairgrounds, January 21st through the 25th. And then it's time for the second largest sportsman show in the entire nation. The Pacific Northwest Sportsman Show takes place February 4th through the 8th at the Portland Expo Center. Looking for a big show? Well, they're coming up soon in Puyallup, January 21st through the 25th, and Portland, February 4th through the 8th. Go to otshows.com. That's otshows.com to find out more, and don't you dare miss out on the big ones.
That's the sound you hear when a fish hits the new Sonic bait fish from Max Lure Company. This metal lure can be cast, trolled, or jigged and will catch just about anything that swims in the sea, the river, or the lake. The Sonic bait fish has a unique vibration and flutter that can be rigged in 7 different ways. With all sorts of eye-catching colors and weights available, you'll be reaching for the Sonic bait fish as your go-to lure. It's the Sonic bait fish. And that's another fish on, only from Max Lure Company.
We're back with one last cast from John Cruz on Northwestern Outdoors Radio.
Let's run through some upcoming events before we go. A trapper education class is scheduled for next Saturday, the 24th, at the State Fish, Wildlife, and Parks Office in Butte, Montana. The class is free of charge, and all are welcome to attend, though if you're under 12, you need to have an adult with you. Pre-registration is required and can be done by calling the Butte office for Fish, Wildlife, and Parks. If you live in eastern Idaho and would rather learn about turkey hunting instead of trapping, there's going to be a turkey hunting workshop in Pocatello on February 7th and on the 14th. The 2-day workshop, sponsored by Idaho Fish and Game and the National Wild Turkey Federation, will also include a mentored hunt later in the spring. The workshop is for adults only, and all equipment will be provided. If you want to submit an application to attend, you'll want to do it soon by contacting the Fish and Game office in Pocatello. Sportsman Show season continues in Oregon and Washington. The Tri-City Sportsman Show is going on as we speak and runs through Sunday afternoon at the track in Pasco. Earlier in the show, you heard about the big Washington Sportsman Show that's going to be going off at the fairgrounds at Puyallup from Joe Brennan. This one kicks off Wednesday the 21st and runs through Sunday the 25th. The week after that is the Eugene Boat and Sportsman Show. It takes place at the Lane County Convention Center from January 30th through February 1st. I've attended this one as an exhibitor, and I'll tell you what, it's a really good show. And right after that, starting on Wednesday the 4th and running through Sunday the 8th, is one of the biggest sportsman shows in the country, the Pacific terrific Northwest Sportsman Show at the Portland Expo Center. The Northwestern Outdoors radio crew is going to be there, and we hope you'll drop by, say hello, and sign up for your chance to win some nice prizes we're giving away. If you get a chance, check out our Facebook page at Northwestern Outdoors Radio. If you like us and follow us, you're going to learn information that doesn't always make it on the show. We've got a website too. It's northwesternoutdoors.com. If you go there, you'll find links to find out more about our guests. You'll also get to hear last week's show, just in case you missed it. Another website to hear our show on is RenoViolaOutdoors.com. This is a great internet radio station that actually has over 30 different outdoor shows that are broadcast 7 days a week. That's RenoViolaOutdoors.com. We're proud to be part of their lineup. That's all for this week. There's a lot going on this winter, everything from dog sledding to fishing and hunting and sportsman shows too. So until next time, take care, God bless, and make it a point to spend some time outdoors.